The morning sun rose over New Haven Colony like it had for the past 10 years. Children ran through the streets while their parents prepared for another day of work in the fields. The colony was home to 150,000 people who had left Earth to find a better life among the stars. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the Orbital Defense Station. He watched the ships below carry supplies between the surface and the space docks. New Haven was a peaceful place. The biggest problems they faced were crop diseases and the occasional pirate raid. "Another quiet day," said Commander Rick Stone, as he joined Morrison at the window. Stone was in charge of the defense platforms that protected the colony from space. Morrison nodded. 10 years of quiet days. The colonists are happy here. Good soil, clean air, no wars. Down on the planet, surface, Dr. Lisa Grant was making her rounds at the main medical center. She had been the colony's leader for 5 years now. The people trusted her to make the hard decisions. Today felt like any other day until Maria Santos burst into her office. "Dr. Grant, you need to see this," Santos said. She was the chief communications officer and looked very worried. Grant followed Santos to the communications center. On the main screen was something that made Grant's blood run cold. Hundreds of alien ships were moving toward their system. Their ships were huge and dark, unlike anything humans had ever built. "When did they arrive?" Grant asked. 5 minutes ago." "They just appeared out of hyperspace," Santos replied. "The computer says there are over 2,000 ships." Grant grabbed the emergency communicator. "Captain Morrison, we have a problem. Look at your long-range sensors." Up on the defense station, Morrison and Stone rushed to their control room. The sensor display showed the massive alien fleet approaching their world. Morrison had seen many ships in his 20 years of military service, but nothing like this. "My God," Stone whispered. "Those ships are each the size of a city." Morrison activated the colony-wide alert system. Warning sirens began to sound across New Haven. People stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky with fear. The alien fleet moved closer. The lead ship was bigger than the others, covered in dark metal and strange symbols. It looked like a weapon designed to kill entire worlds. A voice suddenly filled the air. It spoke in perfect English, but the words were cold and mechanical. "Humans of New Haven Colony, this is War Master Keth Vox of the Galactic Hegemony. You have 1 hour to evacuate this world." Morrison grabbed his communicator. "This is Captain Morrison, commander of New Haven's defenses. We are a peaceful colony. We have done nothing wrong." The alien voice replied without emotion. "Your species has spread too far into our galaxy. You will return to your home system or be destroyed. This is your only warning." Grant ran through the colony's main street. People were packing their belongings and loading transport ships. But everyone knew the truth. 1 hour was not enough time to evacuate 150,000 people. The transport ships could only carry a few thousand at most. "We need more time," Grant said into her communicator. Morrison's voice crackled back. "I'm trying to negotiate with them." Stone was working at his control station, powering up the defense platforms. "Jake, our weapons won't even scratch those ships. We have 20 laser cannons and some missile batteries. They have enough firepower to turn this planet into dust." Morrison knew Stone was right, but he could not give up. These were his people. His job was to protect them. "War Master Keth Vox," Morrison said into the communicator. "We need more time. These are families with children, innocent people." "Your hour is now 50 minutes, came the cold reply. The transport ships began lifting off from New Haven's spaceports. Each ship was packed with terrified colonists. Mothers held their children close while fathers looked back at the homes they were leaving forever. Grant stood in the main square helping coordinate the evacuation. She knew they could not save everyone. The math was simple and cruel. Too many people, not enough ships, not enough time. The alien fleet moved into orbit around New Haven. The ships were so large they blocked out parts of the sky. People on the ground could see them with their naked eyes, dark shapes against the stars. 40 minutes remaining, the alien voice announced. More transport ships launched, but for every ship that escaped, Thousands of people remained on the ground. Grant made the hardest decision of her life. She would stay with those who could not leave. Morrison and Stone remained on the defense station. Their small weapons were useless, but they would not abandon their posts. "Maria, are you recording this?" Grant asked Santos over the communicator. "Yes, Doctor, I'm sending everything to Earth." "Good. They need to know what happened here." The hour passed too quickly. As the last transport ship cleared the atmosphere, War Master Kethvok spoke. "Again, your time is finished. You have chosen to remain. Your species will learn the price of defying the hegemony." The alien ships opened fire. Beams of energy struck the surface of New Haven like the fist of an angry god. Cities vanished in seconds. The orbital defense platforms exploded like small fireworks against the alien weapons. Morrison and Stone died at their posts, still trying to protect their people. Grant held Santos's hand as the medical center burned around them. Her last words were transmitted to Earth. "Remember us. Remember New Haven. Make them pay." The slaughter lasted 6 hours. When it was finished, New Haven was a dead world. No cities, no farms, no life. 147,000 people had died. The few thousand who escaped in the transport ships carried the news to Earth. The galactic hegemony had made a terrible mistake. They had killed humans, and humans never forget. They never forgive, and they never stop fighting until their enemies are destroyed. The news of New Haven's destruction would reach Earth in 3 days, and Earth would have an answer that would shake the galaxy to its core. The transport ships from New Haven arrived at Earth 3 days later. The survivors were taken to medical centers, but their physical wounds were nothing compared to the horror in their eyes. They had watched their world burn. They had seen their friends and families die. The recordings from New Haven played on every screen across Earth. People watched in silence as alien ships destroyed human cities. They saw Captain Morrison's defense station explode. They heard Dr. Grant's final words. Before the communication ended, President Helen Brooks stood in the emergency session of the United Terran Council. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in the Great Hall. The room was completely silent as the last images from New Haven played on the main screen. "The galactic hegemony has declared war on humanity," Brooks said. Her voice was steady, but anger burned in her eyes. "They believe we are weak. They believe we will run back to Earth with our tails between our legs." Admiral Frank Carter stepped forward. He was the head of Earth's defense forces, a man who had spent 40 years protecting human space. "Madam President, we have 200 ships in our fleet. Intelligence reports suggest the hegemony has over 10,000 vessels. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." A representative from Brazil stood up. "Then we should negotiate. Find a peaceful solution." The room erupted in angry voices. People shouted over each other until Brooks raised her hand for silence. "There will be no negotiation," Brooks said. "The hegemony showed us their idea of negotiation at New Haven. They gave innocent people 1 hour to abandon everything they had built." General Peter Walsh entered the room carrying a thick folder of documents. He was in charge of military production and had been working since the news arrived. "I have a proposal," he said. Brooks nodded for him to continue. Walsh activated the main display screen. "The aliens think they know humans. They see our small fleet and assume we are weak. But they have never seen what humans can do when we are truly angry." The screen showed plans for massive shipyards. The designs were unlike anything Earth had ever built before. "We will turn our entire planet into a war machine. Every factory, every worker, every resource will be devoted to building ships." Dr. Alan Cross joined Walsh at the front of the room. Cross ran the Advanced Weapons Research Department. "We have been developing new ship designs in secret. The Titan-class Dreadnought. Each ship is 5 kilometers long and carries enough firepower to destroy a small fleet." Admiral Carter studied the plans. "How many ships are you talking about?" 500,000, Walsh said simply. The room fell silent again. The number was so large it was hard to believe. "That's impossible," said the representative from Japan. "We don't have enough workers or materials." "We do," Walsh replied. "But it will require every person on Earth to help. Every factory must be converted to military production. Every mine must run at full capacity. Every shipyard must be expanded. Cross activated another display. The new dreadnoughts use automated construction systems. Robots will build most of each ship. Humans will only be needed for final assembly and testing. President Brooks looked around the room. This plan will change our entire civilization. We will become a society built for war. The aliens started this war, Carter said. They chose to murder our people. Now they will face the consequences. The vote was held immediately. Every representative voted yes. The decision was unanimous. Earth would build 500,000 dreadnoughts and destroy the galactic hegemony. Within hours, the transformation began. Military officials took control of every major industrial center on the planet. The great car factories of Detroit were converted to build ship engines. The steel mills of China began producing armor plating. The electronics manufacturers of Japan started making weapon systems. General Walsh set up his headquarters in the Yao, former United Nations building. From there, he coordinated the massive construction project. Every day he received reports from around the world. Brazil has completed conversion of their mining operations. They are now producing triple the normal amount of raw materials. The Australian shipyards have begun construction of the first dreadnought hulls. Russia has activated their secret weapons factories. They are ready to begin missile production. The work continued around the clock. Humans worked in shifts, so the factories never stopped. Children too young to work helped by carrying supplies and delivering messages. Old people who could not do heavy labor worked on electronics and communication systems. Dr. Cross worked with teams of engineers to perfect the dreadnought design. The ships were built for one purpose: to kill alien vessels. They carried no scientific equipment, no diplomatic facilities, no luxury quarters for officers. Every square meter was devoted to weapons, armor, or engines. Each ship will carry 3,000 nuclear warheads, Cross explained to his team. The main guns can fire shells the size of buildings. The armor is thick enough to survive direct hits from enemy weapons. Admiral Carter visited the first shipyard where construction had begun. He walked through the massive facility where robotic arms assembled the giant ships. "How long until the first dreadnought is complete?" he asked. 3 months for the prototype," replied Chief Engineer Kate Miller. "Once we work out the problems, we can build one ship every day from each facility." "How many facilities will we have?" 1,000. Carter did the math in his head. 1,000 ships per day. It would take less than 2 years to build the entire fleet. The news of Earth's military buildup spread through human space. The surviving colonies began sending resources to Earth. Mining ships from the asteroid belt delivered rare metals. Agricultural worlds sent food to feed the workers. But the aliens were not sitting idle. Reports came from the outer colonies that hegemony fleets were attacking human settlements. They destroyed the research station at Alpha Centauri. They wiped out the mining colony at Wolf 359. Everywhere they found humans, they brought death. Each new attack only made Earth more determined. The workers in the factories saw the reports and worked even harder. The production schedules were moved up. The first 100 ships were completed ahead of schedule. President Brooks visited the Mars shipyards 6 months after construction began. The red planet had been transformed into a massive military base. Ships under construction stretched as far as the eye could see. "The aliens think they can scare us into surrender," Brooks told the workers. "They believe that killing our people will make us weak. They are about to learn how wrong they are." The first completed dreadnought was named the EFS Retribution. It was tested in the asteroid belt far from Earth. The test firing of its main guns completely destroyed a small asteroid. The nuclear missiles could turn a moon into dust. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the Retribution during its test flight. The ship was a weapon like no other. It was not elegant or beautiful like the ships in the old movies. It was ugly and brutal and deadly. "This is what happens when you make humans angry," Carter said to his crew. "We don't just fight back. We build something that will end the fight forever." As the months passed, more dreadnoughts were completed. 10, then 100, then 1,000. The shipyards of Earth and Mars worked without stopping. The asteroid belt was stripped of resources to feed the construction. The aliens continued their attacks on human colonies, not knowing that each death was adding to the force that would destroy them. They had awakened something terrible in the darkness of space. Humanity's answer to New Haven was taking shape in the shipyards of Earth. 500,000 ships of war. An armada that would carry humanity's rage across the galaxy. The hegemony had wanted to teach humans a lesson. Instead, they were about to receive an education in why you should never threaten the species that conquered its own world through endless warfare. 1 year after New Haven burned, the Sol system had become the largest weapons factory in known space. Every planet, moon, and asteroid was part of the war effort. Mars looked like a mechanical world where thousands of dreadnoughts took shape. Under the red sky, Chief Engineer Kate Miller had not slept more than 4 hours a night since construction began. She walked through Shipyard Complex 7, checking on the latest batch of Titan-class dreadnoughts. Each ship was a monster of metal and death, designed to fight multiple alien vessels at once. "How are the new Hellfire reactors working?" she asked her assistant Tony Clark. "Better than expected," Clark replied. "Each reactor can power the ship's weapons for continuous firing. If we overload them, they can produce enough energy to crack a planet." Miller nodded. The reactors were humanity's secret advantage. While alien ships relied on complex technology, human ships used brute force. More power, bigger guns, thicker armor. It was the human way of war. Captain Danny Fisher climbed into the cockpit of the newest prototype dreadnought. Fisher was Earth's best test pilot, the man who pushed each new ship to its limits. This ship, the EFS Vengeance, was the 500th dreadnought to roll off the production lines. "All systems ready for combat test," Fisher announced over the radio. Miller watched from the control room as the massive ship powered up its engines. The Vengeance was beautiful in its own deadly way. 5 kilometers of weapons and armor built for one purpose, killing aliens. The test began with weapons firing. The main guns of the Vengeance could punch through the armor of any known alien ship. The missile batteries carried enough nuclear warheads to destroy a small moon. The point defense systems could shoot down thousands of incoming projectiles. "Target. Practice complete," Fisher reported. "This ship can handle anything the aliens throw at us." But the real test came when 3 older human cruisers attacked the dreadnought. These ships were the best Earth had before the war began. Now they were used as training targets. The battle was over in minutes. The Vengeance's thick armor absorbed the cruiser's weapons while its guns returned fire. 2 of the attacking ships were destroyed immediately. The third surrendered before it could be blown apart. "1 dreadnought equals 20 of our old ships," Fisher said. "The aliens won't know what hit them." Director Sam Powell was in charge of mining operations throughout the asteroid belt. His job was to feed the hungry shipyards with raw materials. Under his command, entire asteroids vanished, every day consumed by the war machine. "We need more iron for hull construction," Powell's assistant reported. "Strip mine asteroids 7 through 15, Powell replied. "If that's not enough, start on the smaller planets in the outer system." The mining ships worked without rest. Human workers used massive machines to break apart rocks that had floated in space for billions of years. Everything was sent to the shipyards where it became part of humanity's growing fleet. Lieutenant Amy White sat in the intelligence center on Luna, Earth's moon. Her job was to watch the aliens and gather information about their movements. What she saw made her angry every day. "Another human colony destroyed," she reported to Admiral Carter. "The research station at Tau Ceti. 3,000 people dead." Carter's face was hard as stone. "How many colonies have they hit?" 17 in the past 6 months. They're trying to wipe out every human settlement beyond Earth." "They're making a mistake," Carter said. "Every attack just proves we're right to build this fleet." White's screens showed the alien fleets moving through human space like a disease. They attacked settlements, destroyed research stations, and killed anyone who could not escape fast enough. But they had no idea what was waiting for them back at Earth. The construction rate continued to increase. What had started as 1 ship per day from each shipyard became 2 ships, then 3. The automated systems learned to work faster. The human workers found ways to improve the process. Miller stood on the observation deck of Shipyard Complex 12. Below her, 50 dreadnoughts were under construction at the same time. Robotic arms moved like giant spiders, welding armor plates and installing weapon systems. "We're ahead of schedule," Miller reported to General Walsh. "At this rate, we'll have the full fleet ready in 14 months instead of 18. "Good," Walsh replied. "Every day we save is more lives we can protect." Captain Fisher was now testing multiple dreadnoughts at once. The ships worked together like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks and supporting each other with covering fire. Fighter squadrons launched from the dreadnoughts' hangar bays, adding even more firepower to the formation. "The ships are learning to fight as a unit," Fisher reported. "Each dreadnought can operate alone, but they're even more deadly in groups." The test battles became more complex. Entire squadrons of dreadnoughts fought against simulated alien fleets. The humans won every battle, usually without losing a single ship. Powell's mining operations expanded beyond the asteroid belt. His ships traveled to the outer planets, stripping resources from Jupiter's moons and Saturn's rings. Nothing was wasted. Even the smallest pieces of metal were collected and sent to the shipyards. "The aliens control most of the galaxy," Powell told his workers. "But they've never seen industrial production like this. We're going to bury them under an avalanche of warships." The workers cheered. They knew their efforts were building the fleet that would avenge New Haven and protect humanity's future. Lieutenant White continued tracking alien movements. The hegemony fleets were growing bolder, attacking targets closer to Earth. They destroyed the orbital stations around Proxima Centauri and wiped out the mining colonies in the nearby star systems. "They think they're winning," White reported. "They have no idea we're building 500,000 ships." Admiral Carter visited the completed dreadnoughts in their holding areas near Mars. Row after row of massive warships floated in space, waiting for their chance to fight. Each ship carried 15,000 crew members, all volunteers who had lost family or friends to alien attacks. "Look at them," Carter said to Miller. "Each ship is a promise to the people who died at New Haven. We will not forget them. We will not forgive their killers." The dreadnoughts were not just weapons. They were symbols of human determination. Every rivet and armor plate represented the refusal to surrender. Every gun was a declaration that humanity would fight to the last breath. By the end of the first year, 100,000 dreadnoughts had been completed. The fleet was already larger than any military force in galactic history, but the humans were not finished. They would not stop until every shipyard had produced its quota of death. The aliens continued their attacks, never realizing they were feeding the fire that would consume them. Each destroyed colony made the humans work harder. Each murdered family made the fleet grow stronger. The galactic hegemony had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to turn their entire civilization into a weapon when threatened. They had wanted to teach humans to fear alien power. Instead, they were creating the force that would sweep them from the galaxy. The forging of vengeance continued day and night. In the shipyards of Mars, in the mining stations of the asteroid belt, in the weapons factories of Earth, humanity prepared its answer to New Haven. 500,000 dreadnoughts would carry their rage to the stars. 18 months after the massacre at New Haven, Admiral Jake Morrison Jr. stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution. Around him stretched the largest fleet ever assembled by any species in galactic history. 500,000 dreadnoughts floated in formation, their crews ready for war. Morrison was the son of Captain Jake Morrison, who had died defending New Haven. The younger Morrison had volunteered to lead the great fleet on its mission of vengeance. He carried his father's medal in his pocket and the memory of his father's sacrifice in his heart. "Fleet status report," Morrison ordered. Captain Lucy Barnes, commander of the lead dreadnought squadron, replied from her ship. "All 500,000 vessels report ready for combat. Crews are at battle stations. Weapons are loaded and targeting. Systems are active." Morrison activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice reached every ship in the massive armada. "Crews of the Terran Defense Fleet. Today we begin our journey to alien space. We carry with us the memory of New Haven and every human settlement destroyed by the hegemony." The vast fleet listened in silence, 15 million crew members, all volunteers who had lost friends or family to alien attacks. The aliens believe they can murder our people without consequence, Morrison continued. They think humans are weak because we prefer peace to war. Today they learn how wrong they are. Vice Admiral Tony Clark reviewed the battle plans from his command ship. The fleet would advance in waves, each wave containing 10,000 dreadnoughts. They would sweep through alien space, destroying every military target they found. No mercy, Clark told his officers. No prisoners. No negotiations. The aliens chose to make this a war of extermination. We will finish what they started. Massive fleet activated their hyperspace drives. One by one, the dreadnoughts disappeared from the Sol system, beginning their journey to alien territory. The largest military operation in human history had begun. Commander Nina Torres piloted her fighter squadron from the hangar bay of the EFS Vengeance. Her small ships would scout ahead of the main fleet, looking for alien forces. Torres had lost her brother in the attack on the research station at Wolf 359. Today she would begin paying the aliens back. Scanner contact, Torres reported. Large alien fleet approaching. Configuration matches hegemony battle doctrine. Admiral Morrison studied the sensor readings. 300 alien ships were moving to intercept the human fleet. Before the war, such a force would have been unstoppable. Now it was just target practice. Deploy the first wave, Morrison ordered. 10,000 dreadnoughts moved forward in perfect formation. The alien fleet had never seen anything like it. Their sensors showed more human ships than should have been possible. The alien commander sent a desperate message to hegemony headquarters. Impossible numbers of human vessels. Request immediate reinforcement. But reinforcement would not come in time. The human dreadnoughts opened fire at maximum range. Thousands of nuclear missiles streaked through space toward the alien ships. Energy beams that could melt mountains struck alien hulls with devastating effect. Captain Barnes watched from her command chair as the alien fleet tried to fight back. Their weapons were advanced, but they were outnumbered 30-1. Every shot they fired, the humans returned 100. Enemy flagship taking heavy damage, Barnes reported. Their formation is breaking apart. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, 300 alien ships had been destroyed. Not one human dreadnought had been lost. A few had taken damage, but their thick armor had protected them. Clean up the debris and move forward, Morrison ordered. We have more aliens to kill. News of the battle spread quickly through hegemony space. The aliens had never lost an entire fleet so quickly. Panic began to spread among the species that had supported the attack on New Haven. War Master Keth Vox received the reports at his headquarters on the hegemony capital world. He was the alien commander who had ordered New Haven's destruction. Now he was learning that his decision had awakened something terrible. How many human ships? Keth Vox demanded. Our surviving scouts report at least 100,000 vessels, his aide replied. Possibly more. The humans have built a fleet larger than our entire military. Keth Vox studied the tactical displays. The human fleet was advancing through hegemony space, destroying everything in its path. Military bases, supply depots, patrol, fleets, all were being wiped out by the massive human armada. Send a message to all hegemony forces, Keth Vox ordered. Fall back to the core systems. We need time to organize our defenses. But the human fleet did not give them time. Admiral, Morrison's forces moved from system to system, hunting down alien ships wherever they could be found. The dreadnoughts worked in groups, surrounding alien forces and destroying them completely. Captain Barnes led her squadron in an attack on a hegemony supply base. The base was defended by 50 alien warships, but they were no match for 2,000 human dreadnoughts. The base and its defenders were reduced to floating debris in less than an hour. Another supply line cut, Barnes reported. The aliens are running out of places to hide. Commander Torres and her fighters scouted deeper into alien territory. What they found shocked even the experienced pilot. Entire alien fleets were abandoning their positions and fleeing toward the galactic core. They're retreating everywhere, Torres reported. Some of the alien species are surrendering without a fight. Admiral Morrison was not surprised. The aliens had started this war believing they could frighten humanity into submission. Now they were learning what it meant to face an entire species. United in rage, the human fleet continued its advance. More alien forces tried to stop them, but the result was always the same. The Dreadnoughts' overwhelming numbers and firepower crushed every defense the aliens could mount. Vice Admiral Clark coordinated attacks on 3 different star systems at the same time. His forces destroyed a major alien shipyard, wiped out a defensive fleet, and captured a supply depot in a single day. The aliens are trying to mass their remaining forces at their capital system, Clark reported. Intelligence suggests they're gathering every ship they have for a final battle. Morrison smiled coldly. Perfect. We'll finish them all at once. The news of humanity's unstoppable advance reached every corner of the galaxy. Species that had remained neutral now sent messages to Earth, begging for peace. Others fled their homeworlds, afraid that the human fleet would come for them next. But Morrison's orders were clear. The fleet would advance to the hegemony capital and destroy the aliens who had murdered the people of New Haven. Nothing would stop them. Nothing would save the aliens from the consequences of their actions. The human dreadnoughts pressed forward, through space, carrying with them the combined fury of an entire species. Behind them lay the wreckage of dozens of alien fleets. Ahead waited the final battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The aliens had wanted to teach humanity a lesson about staying in their place. Instead, they had created an unstoppable force that would reshape the balance of power among the stars. The human fleet moved like a dark tide through space, bringing death to those who had dared to threaten Earth's children. Morrison looked out at his vast fleet and thought of his father, who had died trying to protect the innocent people of New Haven. Soon, very soon, Captain Jake Morrison would be avenged. The aliens who had murdered him and his colonists would face the full might of human vengeance. The swarm had awakened, and nothing in the galaxy could stand against it. 6 months after leaving Earth, the human fleet reached the hegemony capital system. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution and looked at the massive alien fleet waiting for them. 10,000 ships, representing dozens of different species, all united in their desperate attempt to stop humanity's advance. Final count shows 200,000 of our dreadnoughts still operational, Captain Barnes reported. We've lost ships along the way, but we still outnumber them 20-1. Morrison nodded. The fleet had fought dozens of battles during their march to the capital. Some dreadnoughts had been destroyed, others damaged beyond repair. But the core of humanity's great armada remained intact and ready for the final battle. War Master, Keth Vox commanded the alien fleet from his massive flagship, a vessel the size of a small moon. He had gathered every available ship in hegemony space for this last stand. If they failed here, alien civilization would be at the mercy of human vengeance. All ships prepare for battle, Keth Vox ordered. Today we stop the human plague from spreading further. The space around the capital world became a storm of weapons fire. Energy beams crossed the darkness between fleets while nuclear missiles streaked toward their targets. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Morrison watched, as wave after wave of human dreadnoughts engaged the alien defenders. The aliens fought with skill and courage, but they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. For every alien ship there were 20 human vessels ready to take its place. Captain Barnes led her squadron in a direct assault on the alien center. Her ships absorbed terrible damage from enemy weapons, but their thick armor held. The humans pressed forward, their guns blazing continuously. Heavy damage to sections 4 through 7, Barnes's damage control officer reported. But all weapon systems still operational. Keep firing, Barnes ordered. We didn't come this far to stop now. Commander Torres dove her fighter squadron through the chaos of the main battle. Her small ships darted between the massive dreadnoughts, hunting for alien fighters and bombers. The space around her exploded with weapons fire and debris from destroyed ships. "This is for my brother," Torres whispered as she destroyed an alien fighter. Vice Admiral Clark coordinated the orbital assault on the capital world itself. While the main battle raged in space, his ships targeted military installations on the planet below. Hegemony command centers and weapons factories vanished under the bombardment. Military targets only, Clark reminded his gunners. We're not here to slaughter civilians. The battle continued for 6 hours. Alien ships fought with desperate courage, knowing that defeat meant the end of their civilization's dominance. But courage alone could not overcome the overwhelming numbers of human dreadnoughts. Morrison's flagship pushed through the alien lines, heading directly for Kethvox's command ship. The two vessels had become symbols of their species' conflict. Morrison carried the memory of New Haven and his father's sacrifice. Kethvox represented the alien arrogance that had started this war. Ramming speed, Morrison ordered. Take us, straight through their defense line. The Retribution's engines roared as the massive ship accelerated toward the alien flagship. Enemy weapons hammered the Dreadnought's armor, but Morrison would not be stopped. This was personal. The two ships collided with tremendous force. Both vessels were badly damaged, but Morrison's Dreadnought had the thicker armor. Human Marines poured through the breach in the alien ship's hull. Morrison led the boarding party personally. He carried his father's service pistol and wore the uniform of the Terran Defense Force. The alien corridors were filled with smoke and the screams of dying warriors. Find Kethvox, Morrison ordered his Marines. I want to face him personally. The fighting through the alien ship was brutal. Human. Marines used their superior numbers and firepower to overcome alien defenses. Room by room, deck by deck, they fought their way to the command center. Morrison found Kethvox in his private quarters, a massive alien creature covered in battle scars. The War Master was armed with energy weapons and ready to fight to the death. You are the son of the human who defied me at New Haven, Kethvox said in perfect English. I am, Morrison replied. And you are the monster who murdered my father and 147,000 innocent people. The two warriors faced each other across the alien commander's quarters. Around them, the battle for the ship continued. But this fight was personal. They attacked at the same time. Kethvox's alien strength was incredible, but Morrison fought with the fury of human vengeance. The battle was short and vicious. When it ended, the alien War Master lay dead on the floor of his own ship. Morrison activated the ship's communication system. This is Admiral Morrison. War Master Kethvox is dead. Surrender now or be destroyed. The effect was immediate. Across the battlefield, alien ships began to lower their shields and power down their weapons. The death of their supreme commander had broken their will to fight. Captain Barnes coordinated the surrender of the alien fleet. Ship after ship transmitted their capitulation. The great battle was over, and humanity had won a total victory. Alien losses: 8,000 ships destroyed, 2,000 surrendered, Barnes reported. Human losses: 150,000 dreadnoughts destroyed or severely damaged. Morrison felt the weight of those numbers. 150,000 ships meant millions of human lives lost. But their sacrifice had achieved the impossible. The Galactic Hegemony, masters of the galaxy for thousands of years, had been defeated. President Brooks received the news at her headquarters on Earth. The woman who had ordered the construction of the Great Fleet sat quietly for a moment, thinking of all the people who had died to make this victory possible. Send a message to all human colonies, Brooks ordered. The war is over, we have won. But victory came with a price. The human fleet had been reduced from 500,000 ships to 50,000 operational vessels. The others floated in space as debris or limped home with critical damage. Admiral Morrison stood on the surface of the alien capital world, accepting the formal surrender of the Hegemony Council. The aliens who had once ruled the galaxy now knelt before a human officer. The terms are simple, Morrison announced. All attacks on human settlements will end immediately. The Hegemony military will be disbanded. Human protectorates will be established throughout your former territory. The alien leaders had no choice but to agree. Their fleets were destroyed, their military power broken. They signed the surrender documents with shaking hands. Commander Torres flew her damaged fighter back to her carrier. She had survived the great battle, but many of her squadron had not. The cost of victory had been higher than anyone expected. Was it worth it? Her wingman asked over the radio. Torres thought of her brother and all the other humans who had died in alien attacks. "Ask the people of New Haven," she replied. The news of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had remained neutral now sought friendship with Earth. Others fled to the outer rim, afraid of human expansion. But Morrison and his surviving fleet had no interest in conquest. They established military bases to protect human colonies and left the alien civilizations alone. Humanity had not become the monsters their enemies claimed them to be. The Great Fleet began its journey home to Earth. The ships were battered and, scarred from months of fighting, but they carried with them the most complete military victory in galactic history. Morrison visited the medical bay of his flagship, where wounded crew members were recovering. These people had given everything for their species' survival. Many would never see their homes again. "You have avenged New Haven," Morrison told them. "The galaxy knows the price of threatening human life." The return journey to Earth took 3 months. As the surviving dreadnoughts approached the Sol system, they were met by celebration fleets and cheering crowds. Humanity had won its war against the galaxy, but at a terrible cost. President Brooks spoke at the memorial service for the fallen. Millions of humans had died building and crewing the Great Fleet. Their sacrifice had purchased humanity's safety among the stars. "They died so that our species could live free," Brooks said. "No alien force will ever again threaten human colonies. We have written our message in fire across the galaxy. Humanity protects its own." The age of alien domination was over. In its place came the era of human expansion, protected by the memory of New Haven and the sacrifice of those who had answered its destruction with 500,000 dreadnoughts. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson about humans. We never forget those who wrong us, and we never stop fighting until our enemies are destroyed.